All right, first time out to really give this Project 300L Rally a shakedown. I've got it pretty much totally finished, other than I'm waiting on graphics. So we've got some new tires to scrub in today, and I've got a nice little test route with just some pavement and gravel back roads. So see what we get into. I'm going to be kind of just talking about random things here as they pop into my head about this bike as I give it kind of a first shakedown ride. This is a 2022 300L Honda, and it has a long list of stuff done to it. I'll mention this later on, but it's got K-Tech suspension. It's in the rear. It's got Racetech stuff in the front. Got the full slate of 550 performance stuff from the Stage 1. And then I've got bars, grips, foot pegs, shift levers, brake levers, better tires, you name it. It's been put on this bike. It's between me and the previous owner, we basically money pitted this sucker. But it's just all right. This is a little off-road area I play around in sometimes, just to test stuff. Let's see what's going on in here today. Oh, good lord. It's sandy, and oh shit, it is muddy too. Wow. Let's see if I can get over this without slipping down in it. There we go. Jump out of this a little bit. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it's still really soft down in here. A lot of sand. You can go up the side and skip that mud over there. How do we get out of here? I've forgotten. Ah, right here. See how fast we can get up to speed. Here we go. That's 60. That's pretty good. I'm on the highway here, and people wonder very often about these bikes, like what do they cruise at? And I'm betting the speedometer, it says 69, 70 miles an hour right now. I'm betting it's 3 to 4 miles an hour fast. So indicated speed, I think honestly they probably like 65 to 70. At the higher end, they'll do 75. I just did 75 a few minutes ago easily. But I would say beyond about 65 indicated, 67 indicated, it starts to get a little bit fuzzy. But it has no problem doing it, so you could cruise like this for quite a while. There's some easy straight gravel. Let's see how this thing does here. I haven't even had this bike on gravel road yet. I mean, this is pretty smooth gravel, but honestly, this doesn't feel much different than pavement when you're riding on this bike. We'll say it moves around a little bit from the kind of, if I move over into the chunky stuff, it moves around a little bit more than like my Ibex does, but it's a smaller bike and skinnier tires, so it's expected. See how it's doing these little twisty roads like this. These are Tusk Waypoint tires. I don't want to push them too hard yet because they're pretty new. Not really scrubbed in fully, but that's pretty good. You can certainly have fun on it. It's not a sport bike. This bike has a K-Tech rear shock on it, and then it has Racetech gold valves in the front forks, with just new shims and base valves, I think. And then it has some Racetech springs in front of it. So while that's a lot better off-road, you got to understand what you're also doing to the on-road characteristics too. So if you're like I'm hitting some bumps right now intentionally just to feel them, you got to remember, if you are kind of just a road and gravel kind of person, if that's your idea of, you know, adventure riding or dual sporting or whatever, man, I would almost tell you just put the appropriate spring in the front and the appropriate spring in the rear, and just try that first before going fully to suspension, because you are kind of messing up your ride a little bit in terms of like how smooth it is. Like, I'm hitting these little patches in the pavement. Feel them all, that's for sure. It's certainly not as smooth as it was stock, but again, I mean, massive difference off-road. I mean, massive. So you just have to understand what it is that you're trying to get out of it. So like that dip right there, and handled that way better in terms of falling into it and coming out and not bottoming out. But at the same time, all of this little stuff I'm hitting is rough. Not terrible, but rough enough. On the flip side, with undulations and pavement and stuff, I mean, there's actual compression now and actual rebound damping now. So it really makes it feel like real suspension instead of just play bike suspension. So if you're willing to give up some roughness on the road, or some of the smoothness on the road, excuse me, and you definitely do some off-roading, or you carry luggage and weight that tends to bottom out, it's definitely a good investment. Let's talk about these 550 mods. Constant questions about, should I do that or should I not do that? Straight up answer is yes, you should do that. Even if you are more of a slower type of rider, just the power smoother all over the place, and you've got more to get you out of trouble when you need it. But I mean, the dyno charts for like the stage 1 tune on 550 Performance website shows 18% power increase for just the stage 1 tune, and then you add the air filter, you add the exhaust, you add the velocity stack, which is on the intake side, which is a horrible pain in the butt to put in, and then you add the snorkel, their high flow snorkel, which is pretty easy. You do have to cut the airbox, but it's pretty easy, and then you add the vented or open air filter lid that's got another slot in it to let more air in. It's just, I'm gonna guess if you dyno those things all together, you'd probably get 21-22% power, and that's exactly what it feels like. It's approaching on 25% more power, and just does everything better everywhere. So I just don't see any reason to not get it, unless you're the type of person that's just deathly afraid of voiding your warranty. But I wouldn't say this is the type of bike you worry too much about on warranty. So they're, I mean, statistically incredibly reliable, up there with like a 10RA 700 or something like that in terms of known reliability. So you're not like damaging the motor by putting these parts on. They are legitimate and they work wonders. We're gonna do a little test here. I'm gonna accelerate. I found some hills, and yeah, so you couldn't do that with a stock, man. It just wouldn't get going like that. I'm already up to 60. Anyway, I found some hills. I'm gonna put it in 6th gear and put it at 70 and see how difficult it is to hold that. So I don't know what these hills look like on the camera, but they're reasonable. I wouldn't say they are huge, but they are reasonable. So this is hill after hill. So going downhill, obviously that's easy, but then here we go up an incline, no problem holding it. And I don't know if you can tell from the picture here, but I've got a much longer incline coming up, and so I'm just holding 70 to 70. There we go. I'll hold 70 at the bottom. We'll see what it takes to hold it. Very little throttle input, and it's actually accelerating up the hill. And if I was to roll on full throttle, yeah, it accelerates up that hill. So you could not do that without the 550 stuff. So that in itself is where you need it. If you were carrying luggage, that would be even more difficult. Got some great local back roads like this here. Still rolling on power. It's good, man. That's what I'm telling you. You just can't do that kind of stuff without this 550 kit. So, see a lot of people online in comments, I should say online, like mostly on Facebook, trying to cheap out and convince you to just do like a 13-tooth sprocket or something like that, man. It's, no, sorry. Let's test this suspension. I haven't really jumped it yet very much, so here's a railroad track. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, it's pretty good. It's really good, actually. What else we got going on here with this bike? I got some really good handlebars that have a good rise on them, and I've got risers on there that actually go up and forward. I really think it spreads this bike out a lot. It makes it much easier to kind of cruise around and do this kind of stuff on. So that's mandatory. And then I've got, I don't know if you can see these, but I've got Pro Grip rally grips on it. It's got some cushion, so that helps. Not that this bike is very vibrating to begin with. In fact, let's talk about that for a second. So on a scale of the Ibex 450 is smooth as hell to the KTM 500 EXC I had was horrific in terms of vibration. This is to the like KTM 390R. Let's see. This is actually less vibration than the 690 701s that I've ridden. This is less vibrations than the KTM 390s that I've ridden. It's less vibration than my Husqvarna FE350 had. It's probably one of the smoothest singles you're going to find out there in terms of like transmitting vibration to your body. It's pretty little, and you could do this all day. And I am a person that is very sensitive to vibrations. I've gotten rid of fantastic builds and bikes very quickly because they just resonated right through my body. So in terms of single cylinder bikes, this is pretty damn smooth, man. Interesting thing about this bike, I like riding gravel sitting down on this one. It's odd. It honestly feels a little more stable and a little bit better position sitting down on gravel stuff. Whereas on my my CFMoto 450, my Ibex, and I want to stand up every time there's no pavement or the pavement's really rough. So I don't really understand it, but I like to ride this bike at 50 miles an hour sitting down in gravel. I like to ride my Ibex standing up, so I don't get it, but I guess it's, yeah, see, I mean, we're cruising 60 on gravel. I prefer just sitting down. It's, my God, it's super stable sitting down on gravel. That is for sure. Incredible. Also worth noting that if you look down, like this between my legs, it's pretty wide compared to like the standard 300L. But what's weird is, man, when you get on it, you forget that this whole rally tower is here. You forget that there's this kind of girth up front where the tank is at. Totally forget all of that, and it feels just like the standard 300L to me. I was expecting, based on just sitting on it, to feel like I was on a bigger bike, and I don't hardly at all. I couldn't tell you the difference. I'm not totally confident in the tires or the suspension setup yet for blasting corners. This bike has a lowering link on the back, and I know that messed with it a little bit, and I thought I kind of had the sag set appropriately, but I'm wondering if I don't. But I also noticed that the forks are not raised up in the trees to compensate for that a little bit, but it's just kind of a short test ride. I gotta get home now. But that gives us a good opportunity to cruise for 30 minutes on the highway, so it's 32 minutes home, and I think most of that will be at 65, 70 miles an hour, so I'll check in here as we go along and tell you a little bit about it. So let's check in here. Something that happens a lot is you get stuck behind a car, so doing actual speed of 68, 69 miles an hour. The bike has no problem handling it. Going up a hill, and it's a small hill, but it's pretty much holding it. But because you're on a small bike, man, you just get moved around. You're in the turbulence behind the vehicle in front of you. So it is kind of a downside to having these sort of lighter weight bikes, is if you're going to go on a cruise like this, out on the highway, doing highway speeds, expect to be moved around. And honestly, that gets fatiguing after a while. So if I'm thinking about this with respect to my Ibex 450, I'm going to be real honest with you. I think I like riding the Ibex better than this bike. Just first glances here, and I know the 300L platform pretty well, so I think I can confidently say that. I like the Ibex like everywhere, other than picking the bike up. And the trade-off of sucks having to pick up a 425-pound bike versus a 325-pound bike. The trade-off here is that you get blown around out on the road. So I don't know what's worse, the fatigue from picking up a bike or the fatigue from getting blown around for 30 to 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it takes you to go on the roads that you go on. So you kind of got to think about it that way too. I don't think it's something that we talk about very much. We always think about, oh, well, how hard is it to pick up? Well, that's one way of fatiguing your body during a ride, but this is another way of fatiguing your body during a ride. I've tried to keep some distance from this guy, and it's still a lot of turbulence, and you still get moved around. And that wears out your arms, your upper body, it wears out your core. So think about it from that perspective too. Everything's a compromise when you go dual sport and adventuring. With the 550 Performance, yeah, you can lift that front wheel. But you get questions too about, does the bike have passing power? And here's a guy that's going pretty slow. And that was a pretty easy pass. I mean, it has to be timed. You can't like zip around somebody like it's a 1000cc sport bike, but pretty easy to pass somebody at between 50, 60, 65 miles an hour. Let's play around one more time out here. Where can we go down here at? Some sand. I tell you, sure is easier to get a little bike like this through sand than it is to get a big bike like that Ibex. So that is one area where I would put this as better. That's for sure. But maneuvering around and stuff, I don't know, it just doesn't feel that much different. Oh, of course, mud. The suspension makes cakework of little trees and logs and stuff like that, that's for sure. Makes easy work is what I meant to say of it. And there's that mud again. As I finish up this ride, I'm thinking about something. So having had a loaded up standard 300L and a loaded out Rally 300L now, I gotta be honest with you, between the two, this one seems a little less useful than the standard, to tell you the truth. I think having both, if you have to ask me to just go buy again, I would probably tell you just to buy the standard one, put the $220 Cherubi's tank on it that gives you the same volume as this tank, and it's not as wide. And then the adventure spec fairing is, I think, $150, and it gives you a windscreen and a place to mount a tower. I mean, and put a good HID headlight bulb in it, I think you'd have the same thing, and it'd probably be a little less weight too. So I don't know if you can get your hands on either one of them, and you've been thinking the Rally is going to make you like more comfortable touring on the road or something like that. I don't think it is. I really don't. I've had both of them, and I've done both dual sporting trips on the original one now too, and it feels almost identical to this after putting a windscreen and a larger tank on it. So don't think you have to hold out for a Rally if you find a really good deal on a standard one. All it takes is $300 or $400 to turn it into more of a adventure touring kind of thing. So that's my final thoughts on this bike so far on this Shakedown ride of just owning it for 2 or 3 weeks and putting this time and effort and build into it. Next time I get to ride it out on the trails or something like that, I'll film another video and we'll talk about how different it is than the Ibex in there. Thanks for watching. Everybody constantly dwells on the weight of their motorcycles, me included. And I don't know, this bike is 100 pounds less than my Ibex, and I don't know, riding it around, it doesn't really feel any different. I know it's going to feel different to pick it up, and I know if you were in like some really tight single track, you could probably ride this thing a little bit faster, but the Ibex is really just as easy to ride if you just slow down a little bit. So I don't know. I really think we should probably stop. And in fact, this is a lesson for me here too. It's just a reminder for me. Probably stop just obsessing over the weight, man. Pretty much anything under 450 pounds is going to make an awesome adventure bike and even get you onto some manageable trails too. So you can have fun on any of those bikes in that weight range.